everyone. Gosh, I miss you guys so much. I'm going to read you a book. I'm sitting in my yard today, and I've got a weeping cherry tree behind me. I wonder if you could count how many trees you have in your yard. I'm going to read one of my favorite books. It's called When I Was Young in the Mountains. The author is Cynthia Rylett, and the illustrator is Diane Good. If you can tell your mom, your grandma, what the author does and what the illustrator does, that would be great. So we're going to talk about how it would feel living in the country, miles away from everything, and we'll see how it compares to how you live today. When I was young in the mountains. When I was young in the mountains, Grandfather came home in the evening covered with the black dust of a coal mine. Only his lips were clean, and he used them to kiss the top of my head. When I was young in the mountains, Grandmother spread the table with hot cornbread, pinto beans, and fried okra. Later, in the middle of the night, she walked with me to the Johnny House. Do you know what a Johnny House is? Ask Grandma, she'll know. And held my hand in the dark, and I promised never to eat more than one serving of okra again. Okra might be a new word for you all too. It's a type of squash. When I was young in the mountains, we walked across the cow pasture and through the woods carrying our towels. The swimming hole was dark and muddy, and we sometimes saw snakes, but we jumped in anyways. Can you guys hear the river in the background?
Rooster.
And the rooster. On our way home, we stopped at Mr. Crawford's for a mound of white butter. Mr. Crawford and Mrs. Crawford looked alike, and they always smelled of sweet milk. Where does that butter come from? Who knows? Technical difficulties. Okay, there we go. Afterwards, we stood in front of the old black stove, shivering and giggling while Grandmother heated cocoa on top. I like hot chocolate. When I was young in the mountains, we went to school. We went to church in the schoolhouse on Sundays, and sometimes walked with the congregation through the cow pasture to the dark swimming hole for baptisms. My cousin Peter was laid back into the water, and his white shirt stuck to him, and my grandma cried. When I was young in the mountains, we listened to frogs sing at dusk and awoke to cowbells outside our windows. Sometimes a black snake came into the yard, and my grandmother would threaten it with a hoe. If the snake did not leave, she used the hoe to kill it. 4 of us once draped a very long snake, dead of course, across our necks for a photograph. And I know some of us like snakes, don't we, guys? I think we have a few children that have snakes for a pet. When I was young in the mountains, we sat on the porch swing in the evenings, and Grandfather sharpened my pencils with his pocket knife. Grandmother sometimes shelled beans and sometimes braided my hair. The dogs lay around us, and the stars sparkled in the sky. A bobwhite whistled in the forest. Bobwhite, bobwhite. When I was young in the mountains, I never wanted to go to the ocean. I never wanted to go to the desert. I never wanted to go anywhere else in the world, for I was in the mountains, and that was always enough. Now, before I stop, I want to tell you that I met Cynthia Rylett before. She grew up poor. She grew up right outside of Beckley, closer to Sophia, and she went on to write some of the best. She's my very favorite author. So you can do anything you want if you try hard enough. I miss you guys. I can't wait to see you again. Love.